Hello, I am the Irish guy, and it can be difficult to apologise. For instance, when I was 9 years old, I didn't want to come clean and admit to my mum that it was me who pooed on the rug and not the dog. I knew that I'd have had so many smacks with a wooden spoon that I wouldn't be able to sit down for months. But apologies can be tough, yes. But I am sorry, Jurgen Klopp. This is the Prem catch-up looking at the Premier League results from the weekend, but oh boy. Right now, I feel like I've got the brains of banana bread because 3 years ago, I thought Klopp was finished, that he was burnt out, done. We had seen this happen before at Borussia Dortmund. After an intensely successful first few years, he then seems to just fall asleep at the wheel and enter relegation form. 7th of March 2021. I was positive that Liverpool persisting with this version of Klopp was sad. A bit like a grieving 90-year-old husband refusing to accept that his wife is gone, so he just props up her corpse on the couch whilst trying to spoon feed a mashed potato up her nose. Oh, that is probably the most depressing analogy I've ever made. But lads, the Reds have just lost it up to Fulham. Their 6th home defeat in a row since a 7-0 win at Crystal Palace on the 19th of December. Back when we all had Christmas Day on Zoom, they then failed to beat West Brom at home, failed to score away at Newcastle, lost to Southampton, drew 0-0 at home with Man United, lost 1-0 at home to Burnley, lost 1-0 at home to Brighton, lost 4-1 at home to Man City, lost 3-1 at Leicester, lost 2-0 at home to Everton. Honestly, losing their proud, unbeaten Merseyside derby record less than a year after winning that league. That was more pathetic than if Klopp were to announce that he turns up to random funerals looking for a kiss. And then yeah, finally, they lost 1-0 at home to both Chelsea and Fulham within the space of 3 days. That run was garbage. I thought Klopp was finished, that he was now just awful wet sludge who belonged in the Chinese Super League at the start of the season. People were talking up that Liverpool team as being arguably the greatest team in Premier League history. Yeah, here they were 8th in the league at Easter. I'm telling you, I mean, do that as Chelsea manager and he would have been sacked because Mourinho went on a similar run after winning the league in 2015. I mean, he'd been rewarded with a new 4-year contract in August, which would have guaranteed him being boss at Stamford Bridge until 2019. He didn't even see Christmas. I'm embarrassed to say back in 2021, I thought the Reds and Jurgen should have parted ways. I mean, come on, that was the same season they conceded 7 goals at Aston Villa. Clearly something weird was going on. Yeah, nearly 3 years on, they're top of the league. I mean, just eating Bournemouth with the cardboard spoon. 4-0, a full 4-0 win. Play the clip.
Bournemouth 1, Liverpool 1. This is going to be a match where Ariola once again proves that he is the real deal. When is everybody going to notice how good he is? Bournemouth will be absolutely sizzling in this match. They'll take control of the game, carve out chance after chance. Luis Sinistero spanking a late equalizer, and yeah, trust me, Klopp is going to be relieved to leave with a point.
Nope. Again, I sound like I've got soggy Weedos for brains, but the Reds were brilliant. Listen, Bournemouth are a very good team. They are dangerous, and yet the scoreline makes it look like this was a doddle. An absolute breeze. About as easy as eating a Rice Krispie sandwich. Things are going so well at Liverpool that right now, Jamie Carragher is clearly showing early signs of dementia because after the game, when Diogo Jota had scored 2 goals, he said that the Portuguese forward is a better finisher than anyone he ever played with. What? Better than Michael Owen, Robbie Fowler, Fernando Torres, and Luis Suarez? Am I hearing this right? Jota, a former Atletico Madrid B team player, is a better finisher than someone who joined Barcelona at 27 and then became the 3rd highest goal scorer in the history of the club with 198 strikes. I mean, Fernando Torres at his absolute best between 2007 and 2009 was the greatest finisher in world football. Michael Owen had 2 Premier League golden boots before his 20th birthday. I mean, what is going on? Look, Jota played well yesterday. I particularly liked his second goal, where he scored 2 seconds after missing the ball. I mean, lads, swinging your leg at a football and completely missing the ball is the most embarrassing thing you could do in a football pitch. Honestly, join a local team, go down your first training session, and do that in the middle of a match. People would assume you're some strange chess nerd who's just been forced to play team sports by your mum, but the fact that Jota composed himself and was still the quickest player to react to his gaffe inside the box, to be able to score after that was brilliant. It was falling with style, and I won't deny he is a good finisher, a proper fox in the box. And what a £40 million coup from Wolves he was from 4 years ago, but a better finisher than all of the above. This is his 6th Premier League season. He has only hit double digits in the league once. Forget about comparing him to the all-time Liverpool greats. Give me an option between Jota and peak Daniel Sturridge, and I'm sorry, but suddenly the Portuguese forward looks like that slice of pizza you suspect is covered in bird poo. Sturridge was an elite finisher. You know, the guy scored 35 goals in his first 49 games for Liverpool. That version, from January 2013 to May 2014, was world class. Let's not forget, he also had a 13-goal season for Chelsea from the bench. I mean, that version of him could play for any club in the world. So honestly, Jamie, Jota is good, but please calm down. In terms of ex-Liverpool forwards, he belongs in Craig Bellamy or Dirk Kuyt territory. I'm even gonna say this, before his horrible injury in 2004, I think Jibril Cisse at his best was a better finisher than Jota. I mean, he'd scored 75 goals in his last 129 games for Auxerre. He had better goal scoring numbers in the French league than Drogba. But again, Klopp, I apologize. But doesn't this tell you something? Klopp was a great manager who would have been sacked by an impatient owner 3 years ago. But they kept him and have since been rewarded with 2 more serious title challenges. Which makes me think, how many other top coaches who looked at the time that they were burnt out, that their time at the club was over, how many could have actually turned it around? For example, I know that Carlo Ancelotti, after a slightly underwhelming final season at Stamford Bridge, where they finished second. Wow, imagine a Chelsea manager now being sacked after finishing second in the league. I mean, his fate was sealed after a pretty rotten Christmas run, where they only won 1 in 9 league games. He never recovered from that, nor from being dumped out of the Champions League by Man United. But I'm telling you, if kept on, I know that Ancelotti would have won a Champions League with this club. I know he would have. I believe Mourinho would have won a Champions League with Real Madrid too, if he'd have been given more than just the 3 seasons in the job. Honestly, Klopp is a good example of what happens when you give a struggling manager time. By the way, when looking at former Real Madrid managers, did you know that Real's first ever manager was born in Dublin? And yet apparently, Arthur Johnson still identified himself as an Englishman. Christ, I hope someone spat on his Guinness. Arsenal 5, Crystal Palace 0. Play the clip.
Arsenal 0, Crystal Palace 0. Sorry, Arsenal, but you ain't winning this match. I'll make a deal. For every goal that Arsenal score against Crystal Palace, I will take off an item of clothing. Ah, Christ, when did this channel suddenly turn into a grotesque version of Magic Mike?
Alright then. What? It's cold outside, alright? Has nobody seen the storm? Well, lads, I thought the Gunners wouldn't score a single goal. They netted 5, although to be fair, is 5-0 a bit of a fake scoreline? Considering this is just a routine 3-0 win up until the 94th minute, when Gabriel Martinelli seemed to be struck for the ghost of Thierry Henry to score 2 identical Henry-esque goals, just opening up his body to side-foot past Dean Henderson, who, by the way, had also scored an own goal. At least he wasn't the first Henderson to make a fool of himself this week. But I'm sorry, the Palace defense, letting Martinelli do that twice inside the last 60 seconds of the match. That is sloppy beyond belief. But listen, good Gunners win. But Palace, sack Roy Hodgson and sack him now. I am sick of picking on this old man. I might as well be down a nursing home yelling at some old potato because he keeps dribbling porridge on his feet. Hodgson has had a great career, so I don't want to be sitting here telling everybody that he's got the managerial skills of a wet lemon cake. He deserves his dignity and peace, sitting on his porch, chewing on a box of celebrations, while struggling to remember his grandson's birthday. But I'm sorry, there's no bigger clue that he belongs in Claudio Ranieri territory than the fact that he was also a failed Watford boss. Because it was so short-lived, everyone forgets, but yeah, he was brought in to Watford to save the day and got relegated. That should have been where he retired. Lads, he's got a sickeningly talented Palace squad, featuring absolute ballers like Michael Olise and Eberke Eze. Yes, the obvious ones, but also Matheus Franca, the teenage Brazilian wonderkid playmaker who'd be linked with Europe's elite clubs last summer. Honestly, we're going to look back on this in a few years in the same way we were confused how Wolves had their hands on Pedro Goncalves and did nothing with him. And then he became disappointing in Lisbon and became one of the most highly rated playmakers in Europe. Hodgson does not know what to do with Franca. In the Premier League, he gives him 20 minutes, 11 minutes, 9 minutes, 1 minute, 4 minutes, and 14 minutes on the pitch. That is it. I mean, he was thrown into the B team for the EFL Trophy, where he played up front in weak and limp 2-0 and 5-2 defeats to Wimbledon and Stevenage. Really? That's what we're judging him on? Some Samba starlet who was heavily linked with Real Madrid? He's been locked into a 5-year contract at Palace after buying him from Flamengo, and Roy is refusing to give him a chance. If I'm Steve Parish, that is financial negligence. If his potential is to be believed, then Palace are sitting on a player they could potentially sell in 18 months' time for what? 80 million pounds? That is how good this kid is supposed to be. At Flamengo, he was mentioned in the same breath as Vinicius Jr., but you won't be getting anything close to that price tag if you just keep forcing him to sit on the bench eating donuts all year long. I don't really get why Hodgson is still in charge. Be ambitious. Go out there and hire, I do feel funny saying this, but Graham Potter. Why not? You could realistically get this guy. I mean, how much would it annoy the Brighton fans that their former popular boss winds up with the most hated rivals? It is ambitious though. I mean, who'd have thunk that Palace would ever be appointing the man who was once the 4th best paid manager in the world? I mean, that's Potter pocketed 13 million pounds by getting the Chelsea sack. No wonder he hasn't bothered to work since then. He's a bit like McGregor after getting the Floyd Mayweather paycheck. Maybe Potter's also seen drinking in tree houses in Liverpool, but apparently no, he was actually at the Emirates watching this match. He is such an obvious choice. Oh, how awkward if Hodgson bumped into him in the post-match coffee room. It must be a bit like like somebody's wife bumping into that young secretary who she knows her husband is texting in the bath. Oh, that secretary's gonna be lucky enough to get maced in the eye. Sheffield United 2, West Ham 2. Play the clip.
Sheffield United 2, West Ham 1. I'm going to go for a shock win. Vinicius Souza will up at the scoring. Jared Bowen will grab a late equaliser. West Ham will push and push for the win, but will be caught out on the break. Ollie McBurnie with a last minute equaliser. Absolute saints.
Lads, I was close. Lads, even in this predictions video, I made a mistake. I meant to say that the Blades would win, and Ollie McBurnie would score a last-minute winner, but my voice betrayed my brain. I blurted out that he would score a late equaliser, and see?
Ollie McBurnie with a last-minute equaliser.
I had to correct it in the edit. Well, I think that was my subconscious chunk of my brain who had a portal to the future and knew, I knew in my secret mind's eye that this Scottish lump would be scoring a last-minute equaliser, not the winner. And he did. A 103rd minute penalty. Although David Moyes will be absolutely furious. Look, Maxwell Cornet had rifled the Hammers into an early lead, only for Ben Brereton Diaz to equalise on his Premier League debut. By the way, a fine Blade signing on loan. This is clever business. This is a Chile international striker who was hot properly was at Blackburn Rovers, a championship goal machine. He had half the Premier League after him. I mean, it would have just been a bidding war. I mean, Blackburn were rejecting a £10 million bid from Nice when he had just a year left in his deal. A year ago, West Ham, Newcastle and Fulham were all apparently sniffing around a £20 million deal. It's so clever. The Blades waited until he joins Villarreal in La Liga. Not only is he out of sight, out of mind for English clubs, but even more so, when he fails in Spain, 0 goals in 20 games. This month, he was about as relevant in England as Jedward's first album. I imagine about 3 people have bought that CD inside the last year, and even then I'm being generous. Everyone had forgotten about Diaz. Nobody was bothering to look at him, so to steal in and snap him up on loan, this is a quality Sheffield United deal, and yeah, good finish. The Blades played fairly well, but this was an example of absolutely garbage game management. James Ward-Prowse converts a 78th minute penalty. That should have been the end of it. 3 points. The end. Especially when Ryan Brewster comes on as a sub and gets brainlessly sent off for a stupid stud chop. That should have been the lasting image of this match. Wilder looking furious as his former Liverpool golden boy trudges off the pitch, whilst everyone wonders what on earth happened to this kid. By the way, he's no longer a child. He turns 24 years old on April Fool's Day. Oh, that explains it then. Seems like his whole potential was just one big prank all along. I remember thinking he was an incredible £20 million coup bargain when the Blades snapped him up in a record deal from Liverpool. But that was nearly 4 years ago. If you told me he'd be at Sheffield United 4 years later, I'd be surprised. To me, Bramall Lane was surely just a stepping stone before he'd earn a move to someone like Spurs or maybe even back to Liverpool. I thought this was like when Jermaine Defoe joined Portsmouth. Yeah, he only stayed there a year. Okay, fine. Okay, if stay at Sheffield, fine. Okay then, but at the very least, I would have thought that he'd become a Darren Bent, a Jermaine Defoe, a Danny Ings, someone challenging for the Golden Boot at a bottom half mid-table club. Yeah, it's nearly 4 years later, and he's got 5 goals. 5. I'm not trying to be mean about Ryan. I'm genuinely concerned. I know he's had his injuries, but this is a former boy wonder who I thought would become a £100 million player, and he's yet to score a single Premier League goal. And the way it's going, I don't think he ever will. This was his 35th match in this division, and yeah, I guess he now has more red cards than goals. This is a kid who he was 18, was being lined up for a Bundesliga move, and maybe he should have just gone there. Both Borussia Mönchengladbach and RB Leipzig were rumored to be stealing him from Liverpool, and that is a nation which has rehomed a lot of wayward English talent recently. Jadon Sancho, Callum Hudson-Odoi, Ryan Kent, John Joe Kenny, Reece Nelson, Omar Richards, Ryan Sessegnon, Emile Smith-Rowe, and that's all inside the last 5 years. Well, he's never going to score a Premier League goal, is he? And to me, for someone who has a Champions League winner's medal, something he wore to the barbers, someone who once lifted the World Cup Golden Boot, as England won the thing in 2017. Okay, under 17s, but still, I know what's going to happen, okay? Because he was a Chelsea Youth Academy star, playing under Academy coach Michael Beale. So you just know what's going to happen. This fella's next move is probably to Sunderland. Poor Ryan. But anyway, yeah, Brewster gets sent off. Surely that sees the game out, right? No, Vladimir Kufal gets sent off for West Ham. A minute later, West Ham give away a penalty which McBurnie scores. What's even more bonkers is the Hammers go back down the other end of the pitch, and Jared Bowen wins the penalty after being dragged to the floor. But not only does the referee not give it, but VAR doesn't even look at it. Just what? Brentford 3, Nottingham Forest 2. So Ivan Toney is back. Of course he was going to score, of course. But I'm sorry, whoever organised that Nottingham Forest wall for his free kick should be thrown into a pile of mud. That was woeful, but yeah, to be fair, great Bees win. This was great. It looked like an absolute crackerjack of a match, with Neil Maupay scoring an excellent volley finish. That was elite. And I'm going to give him his roses. It's funny how rubbish Maupay was at Everton. Everyone concluded that he's arguably the worst striker in the league. But look at him, back at his old home Brentford, he just fits. He would never even attempted this finish while an Everton player, but what a Brentford. He is absolute quality. Honestly, whatever Thomas Frank is saying to the guy, fair play, you've managed to completely redevelop this player. Well done, Thomas. Anyway, that's the end of the let me know in the comments, what did you think of this weekend? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give a like, share, subscribe. As always, I'll talk to you in a while.